Welcome, everyone. My name is James Conklin. I'm an associate professor at Concordia University and an investigator at the Bruyere Research Institute in Ottawa.
And my name is Michelle Fleming. I'm a senior knowledge broker with the Ontario Centres for Learning, Research and Innovation in Long-Term Care at Bruyere, or the Ontario CLRI.
Just before we get into our presentation, we want to recognize the support we've received from Healthcare Excellence Canada, the Canadian Institutes of Health Research, and the Centre for Aging and Brain Health Innovation. We also want to acknowledge the support of the Government of Ontario through the Ontario CLRI at Bruyere.
For anyone who's not aware of what the Ontario CLRI is, we exist to strengthen the quality of life and care for residents across the province. We are a program of the Ministry of Health and Ministry of Long-Term Care, and we're a resource to the sector. And we aim to enhance the health and well-being of the people who live and work in long-term care. And we do this by providing education and training, by sharing research and innovations, and by identifying and developing resources for long-term care homes. Our program partners with the sector to provide solutions for priority issues, including COVID-related challenges and future workforce engagement. We're funded by the Government of Ontario, as Jamie mentioned, and we're hosted at 3 different sites throughout the province, at Baycrest in Toronto, at Bruyere in Ottawa, and the Schlegel UW Research Institute for Aging in Waterloo.
Michelle and I want to share with you some findings and some resources from the research that we have carried out in Ontario long-term care homes during the pandemic. We partnered with 3 Ontario long-term care homes as they implemented programs to allow close family members and close friends to enter into the long-term care homes during the pandemic. These people are referred to as essential care partners. And we have also developed some materials from this to help other homes and people living in long-term care homes. Essentially, our findings showed that essential care partners are indeed essential. People coming in to long-term care homes to spend time with residents. Many of these people come in every single day of the week and stay for 3 or more hours while they're there. The role that they play in the long-term care homes is essential. When they were absent during the first wave of the pandemic, it was very clear to people working in the homes that resident health and well-being declined. When, after the first wave of the pandemic, family and friends were allowed back in, it was equally evident that the health and well-being of many residents improved quite dramatically. We also learned from the research that we conducted that relationships between essential care partners and team members working in long-term care can often be somewhat acrimonious or even extremely acrimonious. And clearly this is something that we need to try to change. These different roles in the homes, the role of the essential care partner, the role of the long-term care team member ought to be mutually supportive roles, given that they're serving the same goal, trying to support the health and well-being of residents. So that's something that we need to look at and work on in the future. Another thing that we learned is that essential care partners play 2 key roles in long-term care homes. It was obvious to many of us that they played a caregiving role, and our research confirms that, but we also learned that they play an advocacy role. Essential care partners often notice that something might be amiss with the resident that they are supporting. They bring this to the attention of leadership and team members in the long-term care home and advocate for improvement and change. We're at a point in our work now where we are producing materials to share the lessons that we've learned. And one of the materials that we have produced is an implementation guide to help long-term care homes and stakeholders in the homes to design, implement, and improve an ECP program in their own home. This is based on the research that we have done, and we have co-designed these materials with residents, with family members, with PSWs and other team members in long-term care homes. And this guide is available for download in English from the URL that you see on your screen here, and it will be available in French as well in the month of November. We've also developed an infographic report, which is a very brief document that contains many visuals to communicate the key message that essential care partners are indeed essential. You might choose to use these materials in orientations or in training to team members that you've hired, or to families and family members and residents who have moved into the home. This is also available for download in English right now and will be available in French in November. I'm showing you here 3 pages from the infographic report that just give you an indication of how easy it is to read and how visually intensive the material is. And I just want to say that these materials were developed in collaboration with family members, with collaboration with residents and team members in long-term care homes. And one of the things that they told us is that they want to be involved as well in the design and implementation of essential care partner programs in the homes. So we just mentioned that to encourage you to find ways to work collaboratively with families, with residents, with frontline workers in long-term care homes as you're designing and rolling out a program of this sort.
So in addition to the resources that we've developed through our project, there are some additional resources that we encourage you to explore. Both the Ontario Caregiver Organization and Healthcare Excellence Canada have done some tremendous work over the past several years on this important topic and have developed some great tools and resources that can support your work. And if you're looking for something in particular and can't find it, please feel free to reach out to us. We can point you in the right direction. And if you'd like to engage with other long-term care homes and hospitals across the province that are engaged in building a culture that really values and integrates family caregivers, consider joining the OCO's Caregivers as Partners in Care Learning Collaborative. It's a group that comes together regularly to share learnings and resources. We'd also encourage you to check out Allison's presentation at this conference, where she goes into further detail about the work and the resources of OCO. And we are very excited to be sharing with you today a video that we have just released, The Magic of Connection, Essential Partners in Care. We hope that this video will be something that you consider sharing within your organization, with your teams, as well as the residents and care partners. You're welcome to use this video as an accompaniment to orientation that you deliver to new team members, to new leaders, to new essential care partners, and to new residents as well. We'll soon be releasing a shorter version as well, so you can utilize whichever version you feel best fits your purposes. This video really captures the value and significance of the care partner role through various perspectives. And we are tremendously grateful to the residents, the care partners, and the long-term care team members who agreed to be part of this video and share with us their insights, perspectives, and their stories.
Family presence in long-term care has really gone for decades as an unacknowledged contribution to people that are living in long-term care. People move in and they become a resident, and they still depend on and look forward to and rely on the people in their lives from before they lived in long-term care. And it was really during the pandemic that there became formal acknowledgement of the contribution of family members and friends and just how important those people are to the people who live in long-term care.
In March of 2020, life did change, and the fear of COVID caused people to tighten up and cause restrictions and prevent families from coming in. And that came from a good place to protect loved ones, but it did not take long to see that we were going about this the wrong way and something had to change. So designated care partners, or DCPs as we call them here at Bruyere, are also called essential care partners, ECPs, and other organizations. And what they are family members, friends, anyone the resident feels comfortable to have come in and be part of their care team to provide different aspects of their care. The difference between a visitor and a DCP or essential care partner role comes down to many things, one being training. So they're learning about the rules, learning how to do things safely. It gives them a sense of responsibility, they have a sense of accountability, and they're members of the team.
They are a valuable member of the team. That by becoming a DCP or a designated care partner, you end up being not just a visitor. It doesn't mean that you have to come in and dress and bathe and all those cares, but your level of comfort and where you would like to have your visit begin and end, we can do that with the DCP program.
Essential care partners are essential because they are the connection between the resident and the support team that's here. It's an advocate, it's a loved one, it's someone who knows the resident best.
It's important to make the DCPs really feel part of the team because, one, it all comes down to the resident. and they are the best advocate for the resident. There's also the fact that they become comfortable to know to whom they can talk to when the residents need something. That familiarity, those connections helps them to be better advocates for the resident. You always see the joy in their face for them to actually be granted that access. For example, the couples that have been together the longest, they haven't been away from their loved one for the last 40 years they've been together. Navigating all that stuff, even when it's very onerous, they have to get testing to come into the residence, but they understand that it all comes down to protecting their loved one, but also to guaranteeing that continued connection with the loved ones.
I believe firmly that the DCP program has really reduced the isolation effects that residents have experienced. When you have a DCP bring their family out to a program that we're running, it totally enhances the experience of that resident because they've been able to get them out of their rooms and get them involved in programs and getting outside, and it just excites them to come out and be involved. We like to see that. I think you also had to be very aware of the emotional side of some of our DCPs were spouses who were alone. It was extremely important for many of our spouses that this visiting was as important for them as it was for our residents as well.
Before the pandemic, there was certainly anecdotal evidence, and there was some scientific evidence that the role played by family members and close friends for residents in long-term care was important, but it had not been a major focus of research at that point. Ontario Centres for Learning, Research and Innovation in Long-Term Care introduced us to early adopters of an intervention that was intended to allow family members and essential care partners into the homes during times of outbreak. There are a number of key findings from our research. The first is the very simple but important finding that essential care partners are essential. When essential care partners are barred from the home, there are declines in well-being. When they're allowed back in, things improve. The most dramatic example of this that we found had to do with people living with dementia, people living with Alzheimer's in long-term care homes.
I don't think any of us knew the extent of the importance until the pandemic. For someone who had Alzheimer's disease or anyone with dementia, he's already isolated, isn't he, in his own little cocoon. He couldn't do puzzles or games, wouldn't be interested at all in FaceTime or things like that, until that magic moment when we could get together because of the DCP program. And that was all the difference in the world, because I could rub his shoulder and touch his arm. You could just see his whole body relax and know that I'm right there, and my voice was there. It's just the magic of connection, and it was pure joy. Anyone taking on a designated care role should certainly be prepared to make a real commitment to it. It's important to want to be in and to come regularly and to keep the connection going. It's also important to know how much you'll receive yourself from the experience, continuing your memories, and you'll be surprised how much you get back yourself. Not only with the resident that you care so much about and you're visiting, but others who are there too, if you're able to just let them know that you see them and you're interested in their welfare. It's a very important role. It has, I think, life-changing significance for long-term care.
Care falls into a couple of different categories. The basic category is what some people refer to as psychosocial care. It's not transactional care where you deliver a care bundle like a set of medication. It's relational that occurs through the unfolding of the relationship, the interaction, and that is the kind of care that people exhibit toward each other when they simply spend time together. But we also learned that a great many essential care partners go beyond this, not all do, and provide some elements of things like personal grooming, being with a person at mealtime, taking them into maybe a garden-like setting. It's all of these things that reminds them of pleasant times during their life.
The family is involved in a lot of the activities that we do, and they can help, if they wish, in exercising and things like that. And it's so much easier. It really is.
It lifts the morale of the residents and the staff and myself. Just being there is pretty much as important as anything. You look forward to your days with them. It's a benefit all around. The more company and the more convenient it is to come in through the DCP program, the better it'll be for whoever your loved one is that's in the home as a resident.
Once-in-a-lifetime moments won't be lost the way they have been for many people. One of the hardest things with the pandemic and restricting people was restricting people at a time as sacred as end of life, the time that they deserve to have with their loved one. Thankfully, I witnessed a resident's 100th birthday, and without the DCP program, she would not have been able to celebrate with her family members. If there was anything I wanted anyone to know about the DCP program, is that it is a win-win. The time given to the training is going to be given right back in that time spent with loved ones. For anyone who is reluctant to consider being a DCP, with the training and support from the team, they will learn very quickly that they are part of the team. And that is essentially what it's about, that they're not working alone, that they're not there to replace staff, they're working with the staff to provide the best care possible for their loved one.
This role of essential care partner needs to have some formality about it. It needs to be seen as a role within the long-term care setting, just as the personal support worker has a role or the registered nurse has a role. This is a role that goes above and beyond that of a visitor to someone in a long-term care home.
Our designated care partner program, which was born out of an answer to restrictive visiting, has really become that formal acknowledgement. And I see an opportunity for us to take that into the future so that it isn't just about how do we have people safely visiting during an outbreak, but how do we have residents, family members, and friends as part of the care team for the time that they live in long-term care. Essential caregivers or designated care partners, and there's different names, but it's all this formal acknowledgement of someone that the resident designates from outside the community as part of their care team. Care partners, residents, team members, which is our words for staff, they all play a role in developing our programs and our policies, and we're always looking at opportunities to include the DCPs in the day-to-day care and planning for the experience of people who live here. And that program and opportunity needs to be discussed from the moment someone moves in or is looking at moving in. I love how engaged family members and friends are in our care communities and how that has created truly a community in each of our long-term care homes. Family presence and friend presence in the home makes a place a community and a home, not just a long-term care facility. It's a place where people live, it's a place to find joy, it's a place that we want to give people a life worth living.
Thank you so much for participating in this presentation. For those of you who are viewing the presentation in the time slot at the conference, I just want to point out that Michelle and I are both in the virtual room with you right now, and we'd be happy to answer questions or talk to you in the chat function that's available. Otherwise, you see my email address there. I'd be happy to answer questions or engage in discussion with you at any time.
Thank you so much. And we'd love to hear any feedback that you might have about these tools and about our video. And we are one of 6 Ontario CLRI presentations at this year's conference. So do be sure to check out our other presentations. You can also follow us on Twitter at CLRI_LTC, or email us if you have any questions about anything you've seen from the Ontario CLRI at info@clri-ltc.ca. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of the conference.